Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
It's you and the senorita, whooper blowing up the tweeter, cause it's me up in the speaker. Back in the mama seat, top down like a player, and the sound up in your ears, it is the dopest rhyme. Say I run a game like a cheater, I'm balling like Derek Jeter, complete.
So, a lot of people are saying that George Bush, who turned 70 years old today, kind of sort of got the worst kind of sort of got the worst, wow. Kind of sort of got the worst birthday present possible. I don't know if you've been following this. It feels like England has been in the news a lot recently. But the report on Britain's role on the war in Iraq was released today. And it only kind of just vaguely stopped short of accusing the prime minister at the time, Tony Blair, of straight up lying. It all but says, yeah, he's a big old liar, lied about all this stuff, just went ahead, cost us millions of pounds, untold amounts of bloodshed, plunged us into a decade-long conflict, plus that we shouldn't have been involved in, was pointless and only made things worse. The Iraq inquiry, it's called the Chilcot Report, and it's been going for some time now. It was launched back in 2009. And initially, they wanted to look at what lessons Britain could learn from its involvement in the war in Iraq. Now, for almost a decade, 7 years, it's just been released. And man, there's really nothing good in it. Criticizes the British government for misrepresenting the severity of the threat posed by Saddam Hussein. We have our own sort of theories about that over here. Saddam Hussein was clearly a bad guy. But he was kissing the right American ass for fear of being nuked, and therefore was it smart to go after him the way we did because it created a power vacuum that allowed ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all this sort of stuff to happen in a way that it shouldn't have happened? And it puts the blame, this report, on flawed intelligence that should have been challenged. Meaning, I don't know if that seems right. Should we check it? Nah, let's just wade right in, shall we? The intelligence agencies in the UK apparently did not make clear to Blair that they hadn't established beyond a doubt that Saddam had chemical weapons. Blair's quote-unquote certainty about Saddam's alleged weapons of mass destruction, the WMDs, the whole question, where are they, if did not really match the realities of what the Iraqi military was capable of at the time. If you have friends in England, the way I do, you might have woken up this morning because they've been at this for a little while. You might have woken up this morning and gone, why do all these people? Politics makes strange bedfellows, because a lot of people posting stuff online saying I stand with Iraq. We went in there, we caused bloodshed, gore, unnecessary fatalities, destroyed a country, and it turns out the smoking gun that was what we said we were going after didn't exist. And it doesn't go well for George Bush in this report either. 12-volume report basically tears his foreign policy to shreds. And basically, what it all comes down to is that the war was hasty, it wasn't thought out, and the cause of decades of absolute unmitigated disaster in the Middle East, which has only led to the atrocity and bloodshed that we've seen here. Now, There's a lot of coulda, shoulda, woulda here, and I want you to hear me on this one. This is just one person's opinion, basically, when it comes down to it, this report, the Chilcot report. It's not a good look for anyone concerned, and it's getting a lot of attention. And it being what it is in the run-up to the election, with our international situation as precarious as it is, what happened with Brexit, it basically just reinforces this idea that we talk about over and over again on this show. Your government won't always speak for you and to your best interests. So you have to handle your own business yourself. Patriotism is supporting your country all the time and your government when it deserves it. Mark Twain.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
I do what I want, when I want, how I want. Every day you're going and working, running that rat race at that pace in that place will leave a bad taste for anyone, everyone working day after day. So buddy, I gotta say that you, there's gotta be a better way, yeah. And you do what they told ya, company man, feel it, a mindless little soldier. How can you live like that and maintain your composure before it's begun? Your life's already freaking over, yeah. I do what I want, when I.
So this report that's coming out of England, that if you take it seriously, is not a good look for Tony Blair or President Bush, who's celebrating his 70th birthday today. This report, if you take it seriously, if you take it at its word, like I said, not a good look for either of those folks. And I don't know how you felt at the time. Don't know how you felt at the time when we went into Iraq. I felt like, what the hell is going on here? Only because, look, that was hot on the heels of 9/11 when I was living in New York City. And I'm not a pacifist by any stretch of the imagination, but I wasn't necessarily a warmonger. I don't believe in shedding the blood of American soldiers when it's not necessary. But in the case of 9/11, this was my logic, and maybe you were with me on this one. What happened after Pearl Harbor? What happened after Pearl Harbor? Well, America flattened Hiroshima and Nagasaki is what happened. Now, what happened at Pearl Harbor took the lives of soldiers. And one of the most tragic events in our nation's military history, make no mistake. But these were soldiers. These were folks that signed up for the eventuality of making the ultimate sacrifice in the name of our freedom and our country. Cut to 9/11-2001, thousands of innocent civilians, people who are just going to work, lose their lives. Now, if you A-B the situations, you go, well, they killed some soldiers in a terrible way, and we went after two of their cities, wiped them off the face of the map. They killed thousands of our civilians in 9/11, they being the blanket term for the enemy. And we all sat there in New York waiting for the retribution. We all sat there going, okay, well, I guess, we flattened that country. We flattened Afghanistan, where the threat originated from. And we start all over again. You go in there, you turn sand to glass, and you go, okay, that was clearly a mistake. You guys get to start up. Like in Japan, we'll build you up, we'll help you out, we'll buy your products. But there was none of that. And there was a tremendous sense of loss, not only at what happened to New York City at the time, but also at what failed to happen in its aftermath. Now, there are millions of years of debate about the war in the Middle East, the ongoing situation. the decades-long mess that appears to be getting messier by the day. The conflict that has spilled the blood of untold numbers of American soldiers, eaten through our spending, military, otherwise. And we're not going to get into that here today, just because it's too long. There's too much to discuss. And ultimately, you're chasing your tail going nowhere. There's people that will check out this Chilcott report and quote it as gospel. Because it's on a written page, people will assume every word of it is true. But I remember at the time, despite the fact that I felt this huge vacuum in my heart and in my soul, that as a New Yorker, we were not being served. There was no retribution. There was no head on a pike of the person responsible for this. It took several terms of presidency until there allegedly was one. And I remember feeling at the time, oh gosh, this is terrible. This is not serving us. This is not the eye for an eye that America needs to feel confident about being America in the wake of this horrible tragedy, this atrocity. But I remember feeling, you know what? I'm an American. We're in a time of war. And during that time of war, you stand behind your president, regardless of their political affiliation. And I had hippie parents. How do you rebel against hippie parents? Everybody rebels against their parents. I rebelled against my hippie parents by declaring myself a Republican. So it wasn't that much of a stretch for me to stand behind George Bush in the war. And to further rebel, to secure my sense of republicanism, I moved to Texas from New York City after that. And what was interesting was this. The thing that made me divorce myself from the idea of being a Republican and made me become a conservative independent was not the aftermath of 9/11. It was one very noteworthy flood. Anyways, after Hurricane Katrina, I started to think very differently about things. And for that reason, we have this show. And I thank you for hanging out.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. You do what we do. You do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. You do what we do. You do what we do. Well, it's a new one. Here I come again, coming again, taking it back to the place where I'm picking up the pen. And before I started, it's already a killer. When you know that you're good, I gotta say that it's a thriller. Hey, I do it my way.
So from September 11th, 2001, cut to a couple years later in Houston, Texas, Hurricane Katrina. What happens? New Orleans floods, a city that is ill prepared for this sort of thing. Right up the road, Houston, Texas. And what happened when disenfranchised folks from New Orleans came to Houston was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. It was one of the most aggressive displays of compassion I have ever seen in my life. Now, here's what's interesting about Texas. A Texan, generally speaking, in my experience, certainly the folks in Houston, will do for their fellow man like no person I've ever met on the face of this planet. Like I said, an aggressive level of compassion. Will give you the shirt off their back, will take time out of their life and their day and be your brother in your time of need without even thinking about it. Now, if you tell them that they have to do that, that money, that time, that effort that they would so freely give when it was their own choice. If you tax them and say, your dollars are going toward this, if you remove choice and free will from that matter, a Texan will dig his heels in and fight you every step of the way, which is something I respect, justifiably so. But I will never forget being in Texas, feeding and clothing people like everybody else was at the time, doing everything I could to help the victims of this disaster, Hurricane Katrina, just up the road. And in the short term, it was amazing. In the long term, Houstonians were left holding the bag. And when disenfranchised, desperate Cajuns started to hold up stores because they had nothing and no one and nowhere to go back to, including a store I owned at the time, when my car was broken into like 5 separate times, when property values started to plummet because Katrina refugees got into the school systems and, well, they weren't doing so hot in school because, let's be real here, they weren't being dealt with, they weren't being cared for, they had no idea what they had to go back to. It was a little bit of a strange situation. You had all these kids that were sort of on an extended vacation, weren't taking school too terribly seriously. Watch, the school systems suffered. And what happens when the school system suffers? Property values diminish. And what happens when property values diminish? An element moves into that property that makes them diminish even further. And all of a sudden, you're in these neighborhoods in Houston where you've got these 65-year-old retirees looking out their window going, what the hell is happening here? It got really ugly in my neighborhood really fast. Crime is going through the roof. Home invasions are going through the roof. And my nest egg, my house, is now worth half of what it was before Hurricane Katrina. And all we did was try and feed and clothe people. And when that happened, that's when I went, you know what? Until this chucklehead is out of office, I'm done. I am done. Can't call myself a Republican. I'm a conservative independent at this stage in the game. And you know what? I kind of sort of never went back. Because one thing that you realize when stuff like this happens, when the Chilcot report comes out, or when Brexit happens, or when these massive moves are made that I have absolutely no way of influencing, we're going to be at the effect. We're going to be living at the effect of these massive political moves. And you know what? You can't do anything about it. You can vote, but it's not a very lean and mean version of bureaucracy, democracy, whatever you want to call it, that we experience in government in the civilized world. So any changes that we vote in, well, that's going to take some time. So it comes back down to it again and again and again and again and again, regardless of your political affiliation, left, right, up, down, sideways. It's always going to fall to you to navigate the choppy seas of life. And the faster you realize that, the faster that you realize that your life is your responsibility and you are the captain of your own ship, the faster you realize that, the better off you're going to be. Not saying don't vote, not saying don't take part in our democracy, not saying don't be impassioned about our political process. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be involved, shouldn't be a spectator. You should get down on the field and play. But bear in mind, it only goes so far. I'll say it again. Patriotism is supporting your country all the time and your government when it deserves it. Mark Twain. All righty then. That's the heavy-handed political stuff out of the way for today, Funkhauser. Let's talk about the fact that you and our intern, Brandy Aniston, were hanging out yesterday with who?
Who? I don't know.
I know.
A certain boy band for okay, I don't know any of their songs.
Oh my God, I do.
She knows all of them. I know maybe one.
I left the studio yesterday and I had to go drive like an hour and a half and I listened to them the entire way.
Do you have like the best of album or are you
I just went on like Apple Music and just typed in their name and all their top songs came up. I told
Strange
you.
that you didn't do that on the company's iHeartRadio app, Brandy Aniston.
Oh, I didn't even think about
Where
that.
you can make a custom 98 degree station so you can relive your youth on the iHeartRadio app, all free of charge.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's it. Actually where I did it. So actually, I was just kidding about that. I was actually on my iHeart app, and that's where I did it.
Right.
Right.
That's what I
That's
thought.
what I
so
did.
wait, it was what's a 98 degree song? It was 98 degrees, right?
Okay, ready? Yeah, it was 98 degrees.
Uh-huh.
They have the Give Me Just One Night, Una Noche. I think
I
that's
remember
Ay
that
caramba.
because
Are
of
any
Una
of them
Noche.
actually?
Give Me Just One Night. Yeah,
Oh, wait. No, so do you remember? I know that song. Do you remember that show, Just Shoot Me, that David Spade was on back in the day?
Yes.
So 98 degrees were on that show. They did a guest appearance on it, and David Spade tried to weasel his way into that. He was like, I'm gonna be an extra boy band member.
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
and they start performing, and he comes in and starts rapping. So I do remember that song. And what's very interesting, see how I segue this in. Most people, when they hear a super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhauser, on the radio, they go, "Oh, sounds like David Spade."
Yeah, true.
And if
Sounds a little
you-
like that.
if you look at this picture that Funkhauser posted yesterday when 98 degrees came in, I was like, "Oh, right, okay, so that's the boy band that came in. Look, there's our intern Brandy with them, and yeah." I looked at the picture probably like, I don't know. It took about a full minute of looking at it for it to sink in that the guy second from the left was, in fact, super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhauser, and not a 90s boy band member. Funkhauser, can you tweet that picture out, please?
This is
Yes.
amazing. I have a better one where he's in the background, like waving his hands. Like, I'm tweeting that one out because that one's amazing. He's like waving his hands in the background, like, notice me.
I had no idea that you were not a member of 98 Degrees looking at this picture.
You know what? Actually, he would just fit in just fine. Honestly, he
Yeah.
really would. He did. He did. He totally did. They were so cool. They were so
No, they
nice.
weren't.
Yes,
they might have been
were.
nice, but they were not cool. They were never cool. 98 Degrees. Let's pull this one over to the
Okay,
side of the
wait,
reality
wait.
turnpike.
They-
Not cool. I'll give you nice. They might have been very nice guys, but it has never been cool to be a member of 98 Degrees.
Okay, but they all, okay, you ready? They all still had on their arms the 98 degree tattoos. All of them.
They got tattooed?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
well, I'm guessing right next to like a barbed wire, a piece of barbed wire running around their arm, and probably something bad and tribal on their ankle.
That's exactly what Nick Lachey has. He has a tribal around his arm with the sun around the 98 degrees.
So I think really like the only person anybody knows from 98 Degrees
It's
is
Nick
Nick Lachey because he was married to Jessica Simpson and they had that
Oh.
reality show together,
The
right?
worst part was the first, like, it was one of the first interviews, and one of the first questions that comes out of the guy's mouth, of course, it was from Texas. And the guy goes, "So it's the anniversary of your divorce from Jessica Simpson." And I like looked at him, and his face just turned like, he, like the look on it, he didn't even answer it. The rest of the group just kind of shuffled it around and they just went past it. He was not answering that.
Wow, what kind of person knows that it's the anniversary of the? Was this a journalist asking him this question?
It was a radio host from Texas.
Oh,
Yeah.
from well, like Jessica Simpson's from Texas.
Exactly. That's exactly why I was like, "Oh, Texas is going to be a rough one for you."
But I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong on this one. Isn't he married to like another?
Yeah, he's
famous
married
chick.
Remember, I told you she was doing Miss Teen USA when I was doing the year after I did Miss Teen California. So she was like, she actually won Miss Teen USA. Her name's Vanessa. Vanessa Lachey. Now she's actually does pretty well for herself in the acting world now. She's hosted a lot for like MTV and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like he married famous chicks
Yes,
only.
yeah.
And what about the other guys? Did they marry anyone?
Drew
What's happened with them?
Well, his brother is Drew Lachey, which people don't even realize that they're brothers. I don't know why. Whatever. So he's not
You say
married.
Drew Lachey, like I should realize what
Right,
that is.
well, that's another member. Drew is the other member, and then there is oh gosh, I always forget that one's name. Jeff. Jeff is.
Don't worry, literally everybody else does. The fact that you know 2 names of members of 98 Degrees.
And then he's married to I think she's a pretty famous model, if I'm not mistaken. And then the other one is not married at all, and they kept reiterating that a million times that he wasn't married or dating anything.
Aw.
Darn it! But he did.
You think
He did lock eyes with me a few times. There could be a chance if I wanted.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah.
And you got to bear in mind that if I'm correct, if I remember this sort of, because when I was in a band, we were signed by this dude that owned a recording studio where a lot of these folks would roll through. Someone's, Celine Dion's here, or Max Martin, the Swedish guy that wrote all the Backstreet Boys songs. His private jet just came and he's choppering in. So he'll be kicking you guys out of the studio while you're making your silly little rock album to do something that actually has dollars associated with it. So you're going to have to get out of the way. So every once in a while we'd be like, oh, look, there's that doofus from O-Town, or there's 98 Degrees, or there's all these sort of early 2000s boy bands would roll through the studio. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, if I'm looking at this picture, the one right next to Funkhauser, who just really absolutely looks like... you fit so well into this picture, Funkhauser. If you started singing and dancing after this, I would not be surprised at all.
He's the one that's single.
Okay, so the tubby one, that's single.
Yes.
But I think he was the one with the talent. All the rest were sort of
Well,
just
I guess we'll never get them on the show.
And yet,
throw
life
all this
goes on.
Prep away. And yet, life goes on.
Oh.
Anyways, but I think he's the tubby one with all the talent that wrote the songs and stuff. The rest of the guys were just sort of window dressing that, danced and sang a little. And I think he might be the one with the writing credit. So ironically, the guy that has not managed to, lock down a wife is the
calling
one
the fire department on these 3rd-degree burns today.
It's funny that you mentioned O-Town, because that's actually who they were going on tour with.
Oh, to the people listening in Orlando, Florida, are you swelling with pride at the moment? Oh, gosh. We love Orlando, Florida, and we do not judge you based on O-Town.
I feel Huxtable days like this when I feel untouchable. I try and make up for all the wrongs I did by living my life like a Cosby kid, jamming on the one like Theo and Stevie. I know it sounds crazy, but you gotta believe me.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD again. Nobody rock a party better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD again. Nobody rock a party better than me.
So if you are just joining us, please do yourself a favor. Head over to Super Producer to the Stars, Barry Funkhauser's Instagram or Twitter account, and check out the picture of him, our intern Brandy Aniston, and 98 Degrees. And I'll give you $1.
They're back.
I'll give you $1 if you can. Well, you know what? It doesn't really surprise me, because we've entered a stage of life where stuff from the 90s and the early 2000s. Look, all the people that were kids enjoying that stuff then. are adults now with adult problems. And anything, we talked about this on the show last week, anything that connects you with your childhood, with an innocent, more simple time, is a valuable thing. It reminds you to see the world through the eyes of a child, and it's a big deal. And that's why Crystal Pepsi is coming back, and not only coming back, but coming back with a video game to promote it that is an awful lot like Oregon Trail. That's why 98 Degrees in O-Town all of a sudden don't have to, that's why... That's why 98 Degrees and O-Town have had to ask for time off from their assistant managing positions at Starbucks and go on tour again. There's a market for that stuff because of the nostalgia associated with it, because people that grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s are now adulting, and adulting is unpleasant. So they'd like a little bit of 98 Degrees in O-Town in their lives again. But, like, look at this picture. Like, it really is like Where's Waldo, except, like, we should try and Photoshop Funkhauser in with various other boy bands. I bet, Can
I get a haircut first? I mean, come on.
No, you can't, because that's what makes it so good.
I'm all hair in this one.
But that's the point. Do you remember okay, Nick Lachey, like, the big thing was when he, like, had, like, the bleached tips and the big barbed wire tattoo. And the wife beater.
By the way, and I don't know which comedian pointed it out, and I want to point, like, I want to credit people for this sort of stuff, but wife beater, I always thought this wife beater was the worst term for,
it is.
Like, I'm going to wear my wife beater shirt, like,
so
right
bad.
along with my child molestation pants. It's horrible, and people don't even question it, how that one slipped through and became part of the daily vernacular, and nobody was like, that's not cool, we should call it something else, is beyond me. But go on. Yes. What about Nick Lachey and his wife beater?
You know, and then he would wear, like, the baggy pants. I think in one video they were wearing fireman outfits. Like the suspenders and, like, the wet. Yeah, it was definitely fireman outfits. That was, like, my 16-year-old wet dream. Just saying. Nick Lachey was everything when I was like 15, 16. And then to have him sitting right in front of me, I was just like, you know, now that I'm in my 30s, he looked like almost exactly the same. But then, you know, I got past it for sure. But it was like,
really?
It was really cool to have him in front of me and kind of be like, oh, the 15-year-old inner little girl in me was like dying at first. And then realizing they're all married with kids and like, they're, you know, no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Funkhauser, have you ever met any of your teen crushes? I mean, you've worked in entertainment. All sorts of people come through the building to get, like, have you ever met someone that you definitely would have when you were like 15, 16, and would you still now?
Not in the building, but I kept running into Hillary Duff at the Vons.
Oh, Hillary Duff is great.
Like, a few times until it was like uncomfortable that we kept shopping for spaghetti on the same Thursday.
Were you stalking her?
I wasn't, but it looked like I was.
Well, did you ever acknowledge, hey, you're Hillary Duff, or did you just keep showing up around her?
He just kept grabbing spaghetti.
Well, for a while, I was like, better not bother her. She's a famous person. But then it got weird, and I just gave her the little wave and the wink.
That's even creepier.
You winked at her from across the grocery?
What is wrong with you? That's so creepy.
Well, what section were you in? Because this is important. Was it the produce section?
Aisle.
The spaghetti aisle?
It was different aisles every time, but mostly it was in the pasta.
Oh, my God. That's so creepy.
I would leave Vaughn's and go, you know, if I go back to the grocery store and she's there again, it's going to get weird. And then it got weird.
You winked at her. That made it even weirder.
Well, what do?
You say hi. You speak. Don't creep her out with a wink.
There's nothing good that a 35-year-old man can say to Hillary Duff. I know she's an adult now too, but it's just like she made music and produced entertainment that was for little girls,
right? Or like
little girls.
I loved your TV show. That'd be so creepy.
Yeah.
I know every episode. What was that show that she did?
Lizzie something.
Oh God, Lizzie Borden. She was.
No. Lizzie Borden was a famous murderer. No,
Lizzie McGuire. Lizzie McGuire.
I always get the names wrong. What is wrong with me? Everyone in the, like, seriously, you give me a name, I'm going to get it wrong and butcher it, and the people are just going to come after me. Star Wars people are after me. Harry Potter. They're all after
But there's
me.
there's no good reason to be familiar with Hillary. As a 35-year-old man, there's no good reason to be familiar with Hillary Duff's work. Like, I loved you on the Disney Channel. Really? Because that's creepy. Hold on. How old is Hillary Duff now?
She's got to be like at least 27,
We're the same
28.
age.
Oh, whoa. No, she's not in her 30s. No.
To Google, Funkhauser.
Google.
There's an
She's
easy way to resolve
25.
this.
She's 28.
Oh, see, I was right. 28.
Yeah, so I would if she was 15 and you were 22, there's still no good reason for you to be watching that Lizzie McGuire show, Funkhauser. There's no. See, like, I think Funkhauser did the right thing, because you don't say, "Hi, you're Hillary Duff. I'm a big fan of your work," because there's no way for that to come off as being okay. It's
Let
just
me
it's
wink
not a
and
thing.
wave. It's even
Yeah,
creepier. Let me wink, wave, and invite you into my van.
Down by the river. All right, let's do some news.
Okay, fine.
In the final minute of this one here.
Yeah. Really quick, one piece of news.
Oh, okay. So in light of, George Bush's birthday, Republicans are livid over the FBI's refusal to indict Hillary Clinton over her email scandal.
Clinton.
Of course they're mad. I mean, come on. They're going to be mad over everything. They just don't want her in there to win.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a whole pot, kettle, black. What's good for the goose is good for the gander situation going on. They said what Hillary did was careless and stupid, but not criminal. And Bill was like, "See, it hurts when they say that about you, don't it?"
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is.
The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
I got a message from someone asking if I've ever met a childhood crush and had an opportunity to sit across from them, like Brandy Anderson
Have
did
you?
with 98. No, I never have. I didn't really have.
You've interviewed a lot of people. You're not crushing on anybody?
I work mostly in
Do
rock
I need to
radio.
set something up? There's
No,
hailstorms out there. Come on, brah.
Who do you want?
Hailstorm, actually, Hailstorm. I saw Hailstorm play when Hailstorm was like 15 years old. Like Hailstorm, a friend of mine managed Hailstorm back in the day, and I was living in New York City, and I was like, "Hey, let me roll through and see this band you're managing." And Hailstorm was like 15 years old. The drummer RJ was like 12, and the dad was playing bass in the band. They were like this new thing. But I will say this though. You just like the fact that they are doing extremely well and selling out big places and having hit records is absolutely no surprise to anybody that caught any of those very early shows, just because the level of talent in that band was just like staggering.
But still, the fact remains: we need to get you an interview with one of your crushes. I
Right.
think.
I agree.
I don't. Well, I mean,
taking
I don't
notes.
really.
Christina
I don't really
Aguilera?
have one.
Ooh, can we please? I already want Vin Diesel. That's my big one.
Yeah, that's more for you, not so much for me. Christina Aguilera, A, would not come on the show. B, not
Yeah, she
really,
would.
not really my shtick. That wasn't my my bag. She went from being like this kid to being just filthy, absolutely filthy. Although I will say this though, when people were giving her a hard time for having filled out and being a little chunky, I was in favor of that. I appreciated the junk that she had going on in the trunk, and I will never go out and purposely listen to a Christina Aguilera record, but Homegirl really has some pipes. Like, she can sing her sweet patootie off. Like,
Yeah.
it's very impressive stuff. Like Herbie Hancock, this legendary jazz musician, did some work with her, and he's just like, it's insane. She never sings out of tune. Just never, ever sings out of tune. It's kind of bizarre and next level, and she's sort of like a savant of singing. But no, I mean, could you get Drew Barrymore on the show?
Courtney Love.
Drew Barrymore would be really cool.
Drew Barrymore, I'm on the Tom Green team, so...
Oh, come on.
That might be a little difficult.
Yeah, but thanks a lot for being friends with Tom Green, Funkhauser, and ruining my dreams of
You want another one of his ex-wives? I can probably...
Do you want another one?
Does he have more?
I think so. He's been around. We'll have to ask him someday.
I could never really get into like celebrity. Like I never. That was never a thing for me. I never really got all hot and bothered for celebrity chicks. Never. And I don't understand why. It never translated for me. Very strange. Yeah, no, not so much. Something to talk about.
What about Hillary
this week? Hillary Clinton or Duff?
Clinton.
Oh, Hillary.
Some people I've heard.
No. While I enjoy a little junk in the trunk, I'm not a fan of the cankle, so that would not be a thing. Aww. Have you seen the pictures of Monica Lewinsky that dropped recently? She's like in her 40s now. And Monica Lewinsky's now in her 40s. And I got to be honest with you, looking pretty good. 40s or not. Like, really kind of, I mean, I don't know if I probably would. Because then I would have, hey, guess what happened with me and Monica Lewinsky story to tell? It would be more about being able to tell the story afterwards as opposed to, her getting my midsection to sing Sweet Virginia, though. Anyways. We'll swiftly move along, and if I come up with any famous people that I'd like to see naked, Funkhauser, I will get you right on the case. Let's continue with the news.
The Statue of Liberty's face might have been based on a man.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Very interesting.
Have you ever seen the Statue of Liberty up close?
I have. I've been to the Statue of Liberty. I love New York.
New York's great. And if you are headed to New York and you don't want to deal with the whole tour of the Statue of Liberty, when I used to live in New York City, there's a great thing that you can do, and I'm pretty sure it's still free, which is people that commute to and from Staten Island, from Staten Island to Manhattan every single day, take the Staten Island ferry. And that's free. You can get on it, and you can ride it as many times as you want. There's nothing fancy about it, but you can get yourself a cup of coffee, and as you take the Staten Island ferry, if you manage to time it out so it happens right around sunset, you get an amazing view of the city as you leave and the Statue of Liberty at sunset. And it just, it's one of the great hidden secrets of New York City, taking the Staten Island ferry to get a good view of the Statue of Liberty. But I'm not surprised to learn that the Statue of Liberty's face might have been based on a man. Because, I've looked at the face a couple times and going, it's cool. Lady Liberty seems a little masculine, though. But, she's supposed to represent, power in a lot of ways, and I thought that was cool. But now they're finding out that the face might actually have been based on a man by the original artist who came up with it, which is oh, man, great. Now everyone on Facebook is going to fight over which bathroom the statue should use. It's not going to be a good time. Won't go well. What else?
An Italian study says eating pasta helps you lose weight.
Really?
I'm glad
you hear
about
that,
this.
Hillary Duff? See, we were on the right aisle the whole time.
Jeez, pasta. I love pasta.
Do you have what is your if you had to figure it out, what is your ethnic background, Brandy?
I'm Armenian.
Oh, so not Italian.
No. Most people think that, though.
Well, I mean, I could understand that. When you dark hair.
I
you
know.
look Italian. Yeah. No, I like dark hair and sort of different color skin can often be traced back to Italy, I suppose.
Right.
Certainly I have teeny tiny bit of Italian in me, but all the Italian relatives that I have sort of look very sort of they're all olive skinned. They tan really nicely. They have dark hair. And it would make sense. But you're a big pasta fan?
I'm a huge pasta fan. I love to cook. If anybody follows me on Snapchat, they would know that it's no, once in a while I'm ooh, hot pick. And then, most of it's just me cooking or walking my dogs.
Do you are you on Snapchat, Funkhauser?
I don't know how to use it. I keep
I'm
trying.
teaching him.
But there's things like, oh no, you got to swipe this way. No, but I don't understand that.
It's too fast.
So
for him.
sort of.
I
And then
am,
you have to
'cause-
fly through friends that you don't really want to see their Snapchats,
That's
and
the
they know
worst.
you watch them.
That's the worst. See, now I have a substantial amount of followers, so at this point, I don't know who's watching my stuff. But like, I know that certain friends of mine, they don't have a lot of people, and they know when I watch it. And certain times, I don't want them to know I watch it, so they text me, and you know what I mean. They know I'm awake, or you know, like. I try to hide from social media sometimes because as soon as I post something, my phone's beeping from text messages. I can't handle it.
Yeah. I don't know. Like,
Poor
the
me.
thing about Snapchat, it was like, Snapchat's an interesting one. Like, I got on it right away because in radio, you have to be on every form of social media.
Yep.
Possible because we live in the digital age. You never know what's going to jump off and become the next Twitter. And originally, Snapchat was just like the sexting app. You can send a picture and then it self-destructs, except not really. Oops, you know, like, and then that was the whole thing, and everyone was like, "This is," and I was like, "This just got bought for $1 billion.
Yeah.
It's gonna turn into something. I'm sticking with it," and it became this ubiquitous form of social media that you just have to be on no matter what if you're in any form of broadcasting. And it's a lot of fun, and I like it, except for basically. It really is a window into the world of how unbelievably boring people are.
Yeah.
Like, case in point, like. You know, being the adult entertainment superstar that you are, probably have a lot of folks that follow you because they're like, hey, I enjoy your work. I'm going to, oh, there she is cooking and walking her dog. What the hell? And,
so
you know,
true.
like,
It's so bad.
honestly, cooking and walking your dog is the most interesting end of the spectrum of Snapchat that I'm exposed to on a regular basis because all I ever see on Snapchat is people like stuck in traffic, bored, like that, or that's
They sing,
it.
they lip. The worst. Okay, my biggest pet peeve, and I have so many friends that do this, and it drives me insane. Every snap is them lip singing to some random song, and it's just their face, and they're just like lip singing to a song in their car. I can't handle. It's the worst. Or they're actually singing, and then that's really bad. That's
Like,
please don't sing.
Snapchat, Facebook Live, like, I mean, it's cool. It is kind of cool that you
Yeah.
have all this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
It is sort of nifty in that respect, and I do like the ability to do that, but
Right.
it's everybody now feels it's absolutely necessary to put every piece of their life out there. Like,
Yeah.
people using Facebook Live, like, here I am just giving you an update.
Right.
Going to get an oil change. Like, who cares?
Or Periscope.
Nobody cares.
Periscope is really bad because I feel like people Periscope and they're just sitting in their house. Like, it kind of freaks me out. Like, I don't want a camera on me 24/7. Like, I show people the parts of my life they can see. Like, there's so many layers to my life that I don't put on social media. Like, for instance, I'm a mom. I don't put that out there. You know, people know
Yeah.
that I am, but I don't put it out there because I just don't want that.
You want
exposure.
people knowing what your kid looks like.
I know it's that, and there's some parts I like to keep private.
Yeah. Yeah, you got. Like, you're in a different sort of game. Like,
Right.
you're a public figure,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and so you have to be selective about what you're going to put out there and what you're not. Other people are not public figures and find their own oil changes and food selections to be absolutely thrilling and enthralling and feel like we want to watch them online. And you know what? We don't. We
No.
really don't. I don't expect my food selection or my oil change to be interesting to you. Therefore, do me the same courtesy and imagine for a second that yours isn't interesting to me or anybody else either. You know,
Right.
it's a weird world. Funkhauser, if you get on Snapchat, you're just going to see stuff is dull. Do you do that thing that other sort of
I'm
adult
on it. You should
entertainers?
follow me at
Radio
Radio Funk, I think.
I'm gonna follow
Radio
you
Funk.
now because I didn't even know you were on Snap. Oh wait, I do. I think.
Do
but
you
don't
follow
ever.
people
You don't
on-
ever snap. No, I only follow literally on my Snapchat. I'm so selective because I don't care or I don't want to know what's going on in your life. I even posted on Twitter yesterday. I am so tired of seeing nudity on my timeline that
I saw that.
I can't. I literally started unfollowing.
You did not phrase it so delicately, but you're like, if I see a and a before 9 a.m., you're blocked.
It's so true. I'm so over it. Like, maybe it's because I'm out of that kind of world now. I've got like maybe a toe in there, but it's just so obnoxious to me. I never did that when I was in the business, ever. It was something I was never fond of. I thought that it was so trashy to me.
Well, see, like now I think the thing is like, but the adult entertainment industry is like, I mean, I follow so much of it online because A, boobs are awesome. B, smarter and quicker at monetizing things than anybody else. And the thing that they do now is they have like, this is my free Snapchat.
Oh yeah.
My other one you're gonna have to pay to see, but it'll be worth it. So there you go.
Funny he mentioned
Nobody
that.
wants to pay to see my Snapchat, therefore I will continue to drive this turn-of-the-century car with a tape deck in it into the show tomorrow. Thank you, Brandy Aniston.
Thank you.
Funkhauser. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again.
See you on Snapchat.
You know how a lot of times you feel like it's cool to turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes you feel good about yourself.